Okay, so the day is well underway now. Things are kicking off, and I'm going to introduce our next fireside chat of the day. We have Liz Claman of Fox Business, and then they'll be joined with Tim Draper, the Bitcoin bull, the founder of Draper Goren Holm, and also possibly the best Bitcoin tie wearer in the industry. So I'm going to hand the stage over to Tim and Liz. Enjoy.
Check.
Hello.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks to Goren Draper Holm. Really fantastic event. And the timing's quite incredible, too, isn't it? Tim, thank you so much for really kicking this event off, and I'm actually really happy with the timing because how was your week last week?
There's a lot of news. That's why you like it.
No news flow at all from last week.
There's a little news in the crypto world. So, yeah, go ahead, fire away. We'll see what we can come up with here.
Fire away. All right, so let's talk about last week. And you could string it through the prism of the fact that, and you guys know this, that the past 7 weeks it's been absolutely volatile in the crypto space. But it culminated last Thursday, actually Wednesday night, when we saw, I think Forbes calculated it as about $400 billion in market value just getting lopped off the crypto world. Is that number, as you understand it, is that on pace, correct, more or less?
You know, Liz, I've got this 5, 10, 20-year time horizon on this. And so the short-term fluctuations, there are going to be all sorts of things that happen in this world as we slowly see the banks disappear and the world go to a digital currency, ideally Bitcoin, but any number of different digital currencies out there are going to outperform all the fiat currencies, and that's just going to happen. But in the meantime, you're going to see all sorts of machinations. You're going to see all chaos in the streets. You're going to see people, the bankers are going to fight it. The politicians are not going to know what to do. The bureaucrats are going to fight it. This is going to be a really interesting time. And meanwhile, the market continues to be explosive. And the governments that overregulate do so at their own peril because we have 2 major stadiums named after cryptocurrency companies, and both of those companies operate outside the U.S. because the U.S. has overregulated so they can't even operate inside the U.S. So we've got a little problem with the regulators here.
Slight.
And but I do I do realize, we've had this,
Earthquake
collapse in the stablecoin world. And I've always thought of stablecoins as a bridge to Bitcoin anyway. It's a way that people can feel more comfortable making the move from fiat to crypto, and tying anything to fiat makes you kind of a government coin anyway. But
can I just jump in here?
Yeah.
You talked about stable coins being a bridge.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, you could make any analogy right here, but let's just say Saving Private Ryan, where they blow up the bridge. The bridge blew yesterday, last week, Tim. And what part of stable were stable coins when, when it hit the fan? I mean, we do need to ask that question.
Well, mathematically they were supposed to work. The idea is that to keep it stable, you would dilute a coin if it got shorted or whatever. But those stable coins got seriously attacked by very clever, manipulative financial people. And
who? Wait a minute, you can't just throw that out.
I don't know. I haven't done enough research, but they went after them. Okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can break this. And so they did, but it shouldn't have broken because it's just supposed to dilute. the maker is set up to dilute if DAI changes price too much. And so it should stay stable. But, and so that dilution should be infinite if, no matter what happens. But in these cases, somehow there was a problem that went even further and made it so a lot of people lost some money.
So let me push you here, because you just used should have and mathematically should have.
Yeah.
So already that really leads to the question, you know, you had some risk aversion in the markets, and whether your theory that somebody, whether it was, you know, the crypto world's version of short sellers or hackers came in and said, let me shake this thing. Oh, they shook it. And you have a lot of people simply asking, does the whole concept of stablecoins survive this? Luna, which was supposed to obviously algorithmically switch between, you know, Terra, Luna, Terra,
right.
The whole thing went off the rails. Can those two at least survive? And let's leave Tether to the side of this for the moment. Because Tether, by the way, is supposedly backed by US Treasuries.
So,
okay, which says a lot. Hey, listen, there's still AAA, but...
So I actually think a couple of things here. I don't know if Terra Luna survives, but what happens when you are innovating and you're starting something new is that there are bugs in the system. There are problems. It isn't perfect day one. It's software designers. They're doing what they can. They're doing the best they can. They make mistakes. But over time, those mistakes get filled. And over time, you get to a place where you have a product that everybody can use. But sometimes you get into situations where a large group of people are affected by some mistake that somebody has made. And that can be, you know, tragic.
Okay, well...
But I wouldn't say catastrophic.
Okay, but faith has to be
on the way to getting to this new world, we are going to go through fits and starts. We're going to go through fits and starts in engineering. We're going to go fits and starts in governance around the world, different governments trying to figure out how to deal with it. We're going to go in fits and starts on how businesses transition from fiat currencies to cryptocurrencies. Lots of interesting things are going to happen along the way. We're going to go in fits and starts as retailers start to accept Bitcoin through OpenNode or others, where they no longer work with the banks. We may even have, I mean, I'm hoping to have a time where I can raise a fund completely in Bitcoin, invest in entrepreneurs, have those all in Bitcoin, have those entrepreneurs pay their employees and suppliers in Bitcoin, and the whole thing can be a walled garden. We pay the taxes. The whole thing can be a walled garden with no accounting, no auditing, no bookkeeping, no transfer agent. All of that can be done in a very simple way. So where we're headed is this is going to be a much more efficient economy that will grow much, much faster because it doesn't have the drag of all those service industries that have been sort of sticking themselves inside our economy.
But
so
that's years
I'm
out.
taking you to that 5-10 year out period and saying, yeah, all sorts of weird stuff's going to happen in the meantime. Some governments are going to get paranoid and they're going to go, no, we have to have fiat currency. We have to control everything. We have to control all our people. And some governments are going to go, hey, this is a great new experiment. Let's see what we can do with it. Let's see if
El Salvador, for
people
example,
will go.
Nayib Bukele, over the most volatile point, or so he thought, when Bitcoin was selling off last week, bought a couple of hundred tokens, and he tweeted it out, put it on my show in the afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern on Fox Business Claman Countdown. Look it up. But
don't miss it. Don't miss it.
President Bukele came out and said, we're buyers. Is he going to look like a genius or an idiot? Because he bought it about 30,700.
Depends on the time horizon, but I believe he's going to look like a genius. And it's going to take, I think, I'm still holding to 250,000 by the end of this year or early next year, because I believe that we're seeing right now, all the speculation has come out of Bitcoin.
You think so?
Yes,
you think
because
that this shook it out?
The speculators are gone, but the hodlers, the people who believe in Bitcoin, people who wear ties like this.
And socks, I just noticed.
And socks that say Bitcoin for freedom and trust.
Can I just jump on the word trust?
Yeah.
So over the weekend, Ethereum's co-founder, Vitalik Buterin, you know him, he came out and said to reestablish faith in stable coins, he believes that Terra should make the smaller holders whole again, sort of as if they are an independent FDIC of sorts. Would that fix the confidence problem that we have right now?
No, in fact, I don't have confidence in Ethereum because he is printing more Ethereum, just the way a government prints more money. So you're going to see inflation and you're going to see Ethereum drop in value because he's printing this stuff. And so I'm not sure I would follow his lead because, I mean, Bitcoin, there are only 21 million, and so it is a good hedge against inflation, and it will diverge. You know, currently it's following the NASDAQ, it's dropping as the tech companies drop, but it's going to diverge because it is a hedge against inflation, and all those tech companies are not necessarily hedges against inflation.
You talked about...
And it's a hedge against bad governance. And we got bad governance everywhere.
So that is sort of another word for regulation. This event last week, it puts ammo into the regulators' guns, and they are going to go after it hard. In fact, their timing was pretty good, actually. I believe it was Tuesday. Tuesday, you had the Federal Reserve come out and warn about how this could be very problematic, that there is no underpinning of real assets in many of these cryptocurrencies, and that it could possibly have contagion, and we need to really be careful of it. Not but 32 hours later, the stablecoin situation, and they do not like stablecoins, obviously, the regulators. Do you look at some...
Do you think they were the ones behind this thing? I mean,
We
you're
like
the Fed, right?
theories.
You're concerned because the dollar is being less relevant. You're saying, oh, wait, we control all of this. Do we really want to give up that control? I don't believe that to be the case. I know these Fed guys, they're great, very brilliant people, but I also believe that their job is to, it's a dual charter to fight inflation and to keep employment up. And, you know, over the last year or so, they've been really in a tough spot because they got crazy inflation and all those jobs are gone because of the supply chain issues.
But SEC Chair Gary Gensler, okay, I know Jay Clayton is going to be speaking here as well, and you know that Gensler has been very outspoken about trying to protect investors. As a free market person, I feel like people should do their own homework, and if you want to, I don't think we should protect people from their own stupidity if they're going to make bad investment choices. However, he's going out for it because that's what he says, and he said it to me. That's my job, Liz, is to protect investors. So is Gary Gensler, as you look at him and the crypto world, is he, you know, Darth Vader or is he Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah, I'm still struggling with this because I got to know him. We were on a panel together, and we were actually in front of a bunch of people from the Fed, and we were on a panel together before he got the job, and he was delightful and had a great sense, and he taught cryptocurrency at MIT, and I thought, hey, perfect choice.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, he took this job, and all of a sudden, he's like back in 1940s, and he's working with regulations that were created 80 years ago and trying to apply them to whoever he can. And he's going after, you know, some startup comes up with something in a sandbox, and all of a sudden the SEC's on them, that's not going to encourage innovation. And I think he really needs to figure out how to strike the right balance or even back off.
How do you counter him looking at you and saying, Tim, you can't guarantee a return on an asset that is speculative?
Yeah, I mean, whatever happened to caveat emptor? I sort of feel like, hey, you know, people are smart. You don't have to protect everybody from themselves. Let them take a chance. Boy, you let them go ahead and play the lotto, and that's a expected value less than 1. So it's like you end up losing by playing the lotto. Why wouldn't you let people speculate on new currencies, new entrepreneurs, new innovations? I mean, if you allow that speculation, the whole economy grows, and it becomes dynamic and exciting, and we all benefit from it. And if you slap it down, you start looking like North Korea.
And you as a venture capitalist, you've said before to me, you say, Liz, you know, when I give money to a company, I basically kiss it goodbye, and if I get the return, great.
It's my birthday.
Yeah. So Skype was your birthday, Hotmail was your birthday, Tesla, SpaceX, you've been a big investor in all of those.
I keep having birthdays.
And yet you look so young. But the believers, are you still as intense a believer, or have you, and I'm not saying changed or backed away, but have you shifted your prism through which you look at the crypto world from anything that happened last week?
Yeah, not really. What's weird is, because I've been really thinking the world is going to go toward Bitcoin and maybe to some of these other currencies that are really innovative and doing interesting things. And I've never really been crazy about stable coins because they're still tied to fiat. They're still tied to governments. They're still tied to people who want to create inflation so that they can spend more. And so watching stable coins go away, I'm just kind of going, well, you know, it's just, you know, more inflation, more bad governance, and it's bad governance within the stable coin. You're tying yourself to currencies that are tied to governments and banks and the old world instead of thinking, what's next? And where are we going? And what should we be using as a global currency? And I think Bitcoin's that global currency.
Tell this crowd something they don't know. And this is obviously a very motivated and crypto-focused crowd. Tell them something they don't know that you do that's coming. I know you've invested in a whole bunch of different crypto companies and chains, et cetera. OpenNode, for example, which I think is very interesting. It's the payment infrastructure that will encourage adoption of cryptocurrency.
For retailers. So
for
retailers can easily accept Bitcoin. Well, there's another one that we backed called Cryptio, a French company that does accounting for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. And that turns out to be very complicated to start with, but then once we're all on Bitcoin, it's a very simple accounting system. But they're going to take people through that process. You know, when I backed a bunch of companies right off the bat in Bitcoin, geez, Bitcoin was like at 200, and I was backing these companies with Bitcoin, and I was thinking, well, this is so simple because I can just give them Bitcoin and everything will be great. My accounting bill for those company investments was triple what all the other ones were because the accountants decided they had to transfer it from Bitcoin to dollars, back to Bitcoin, back to dollars, back to Bitcoin, back to dollars. They had to put it into their own, you know, ledger and the credits and debits, and they had to do it their way instead of just like innovating and going, hey, this is a whole new way of accounting and it's sort of simple, and why not just move this way? Our IRS should just be sort of saying, well, look, if you run your whole business in Bitcoin, we'll tax you in Bitcoin. It should just be very simple. What else do they not know? I am very interested in the decentralized world. We have a company called Unstoppable Domains that allows you to go get a domain that Facebook, Twitter, they can't tell you not to say something, and they can't pull you off. And that, I think that's going to be really interesting because that is free speech for the world, and it's decentralized, so no one group or government or anybody can take it down. And that decentralization can transfer from one industry to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next. I'll tell you one other thing. I mean, you did ask. I think DAOs are really cool because they solve social ills as well as creating really interesting DAO holdings. Let's call them DAO holdings instead of shareholdings. Because let's say you start a DAO. What if Bezos started Amazon as a DAO, and he got a bunch of DAO tokens, and his employees got a bunch of DAO tokens, but also his customers got a bunch of DAO tokens. So all of us as customers of Amazon would get DAO tokens. And what about his community? His community also gets DAO tokens. And suddenly, there isn't this schadenfreude about why is he rich and I'm not. Instead, it's like, wow, that guy has created something really cool and we're all a part of it and we're all benefiting from it. And I think that could solve a lot of social ills. You get the suppliers, the customers, the employees, the shareholders, the community, every stakeholder in a company, in an organization could benefit. And of course, our regulators just don't get it, and they're just slapping them down.
Well, maybe they don't get it because the value of it constantly shifts. I mean, same with the US dollar. It really bothers me, and I have my own concerns, especially after what happened with stable coins, but it does bother me when former Federal Reserve chairs, Ben Bernanke, just recently said that, okay, gold, you have gold as an investment, and then you've got gold, but it does other things like fill cavities. Okay, newsflash, nobody's using gold to fill cavities anymore. But then he said, or running ransomware. And, he said, but Bitcoin's only value is, I don't know, running ransomware, which I thought was not exactly an educated point of view. However, that does sort of dovetail to the Federal Reserve and the macro picture here, because we know that the Fed is in a rate tightening cycle. How is Bitcoin and how is the rest of cryptocurrency going to react in a cycle where we are tightening and there's less liquidity? And I just want to quote the Wall Street Journal editorial board, which wrote Thursday night, quote, "The party was fun while it lasted, but now the liquidity tidal wave is crashing, as it always does when credit conditions tighten. This week, crypto crash is the first body exposed on the beach." So how much worse does it get as we continue to see 50 basis point hikes for as long as Jay Powell decides that we need to be tightening?
So I think Bernanke is one of many, many people who are still living in the past. They're still living in a world where everything was controlled by banks and governments, and the individual didn't have any power. That as soon as you put your money in the bank owns that money. You don't own that money. And all of a sudden, there's this new generation of people. So I actually think it's sort of a generational thing. Mm-hmm. And you're going to hear all these people say all these horrible things about crypto, and then you're going to see these young people sort of saying, hey, why do I use dollars? As soon as I can buy my food, my clothing, and my shelter all in Bitcoin, I don't need any government currency. I don't need to work with the banks. All of a sudden, I can do it all myself. So, you'll see, and God, our government is so old, and they're living in the past. The average senator age is like older than I am.
Which is?
63.
63. You've had a few birthdays extra because of your Skype and your Tesla investor.
And, but they're old, and I can say it because I am too. They're old, and they are not seeing this new world. They're not seeing a world where geographic borders are less relevant. They're seeing this world where they can still create trade wars, where they still think, oh, we've got to control borders, or we got to do. The younger generation is going, hey, we're all one world here. And I can get my Starbucks coffee in any country in the world. And so it's all kind of nice, and why don't we all go explore it? That, I think, is coming. And so when I'll ask an audience, like, who owns Bitcoin, you'll see generally, if they're under 35, they own Bitcoin, for sure. And if they're over 65, they don't, and they won't. And so, it's old dogs and new tricks, and they're just, they're stuck in their old ways, and we gotta move them out. Get a young congressman in there, get a young senator in there,
well,
get
the
somebody
young
with
ones,
some Bitcoin in there.
Tim, from the other side of that, the young ones also bought up a lot of .com stocks in 1999. When they blew up or imploded, they were scared off the market for years until then the other bubble started, which was the housing market bubble and the mortgage bubble. So how long do you think, if you had to guess, how long does the washout in crypto for investors, how long does it lengthen? I don't know if you want to call it a bear market or a crypto winter or whatever. What just happened before people start dipping their toes and fingers back into cryptocurrency again?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the .com, the .bomb, the thing that blew up, because it was younger people that were all interested in the internet and all of that. And the older people said, oh, God, you can't put your credit card on the internet. Yeah. Somebody's going to steal your money. And they'd say things like, oh, God, I would never use email. It's got to be physical, or I only want to invest in hardware, something I can hold and feel. Those young people were right. The internet happened. It was huge. It got concentrated into some companies that really became extraordinary. Some of them went the way of pets.com or whatever, but some of them became Amazon and Google and a big part of Apple and Facebook. There's some big companies, trillion-dollar companies that came out of that internet. Well, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, is going into an industry that's even bigger than what the internet was. And all these young people, they're right. They are going into something that is really going to change our society. It's going to change banking, insurance, finance, commerce, government. It's going to change so many. The biggest industries in the world are going to be changed by this new world. And that is, you're going to see a crash. You're going to see the same kind of thing. Oh, yeah, it's going to slide. You're going to hear all these old people talking about how horrible this was and what a terrible experiment, and can we risk people's futures this way and all that stuff. And then you're going to see just every year it's going to get better and better and better and close, and we're going to just slowly but surely realize, oh yeah, what are you still using dollars? And then people are going to go try to buy their coffee with dollars, and nobody's going to want to accept them. There's going to be a point at which when I can buy food, clothing, and shelter with Bitcoin, there's going to be a point that we're all going to run to the bank and get rid of our dollars and put them into Bitcoin, because why hold a currency that you know is going to inflate, you know is handled by government, which, they manage things the way they manage things, when you can use a currency that you know there are only 21 million of them, and you know that it's going to generally increase in value. So why hold the one that you are going to lose money with, or lose value with when you can hold the one that you're going to gain value with. And that there will be that moment. It's going to be like, and it'll be like the time when there was this, the South was using Confederate money, and then it's like, oh well, let's just print more, and here's the Confederate $1 million bill that no one wanted.
Yes, the Zimbabwe currency
Right,
is always that.
Or
as you're talking about this, it reminds me of the auto industry in, early 1900s as obviously Ford came through and everybody started following. And there were more than 100 car companies here in the United States. Yeah. Now there are 4. Actually,
Tesla.
I said 4.
Oh, did we? Oh, yeah. They moved to 3 and then.
Right, Stellantis. Okay, so let's just call Chrysler still a U.S. company. But now we have Lucid, we have Fisker, we've got a Rivian and some of these companies. So again, it did take a long time, though, before the big 3 became the big 4 with Tesla.
Yeah, there were 50 years. Everybody thought I was an idiot by backing Tesla.
What year did you start backing it?
Oh, well, we were the first investors. So it was with Martin Eberhard, and I backed it because I mean, God, there was the DeLorean. There were all these car companies that were just littered in the streets. None of them succeeded, and what got me going was somebody took me for a ride in an electric car, and I thought it was going to be like getting into a golf cart because I didn't think they were any. And he strapped me into a 5-point strap, and I thought, wait, what is this? And he goes, no, you're going to need that. And we took off, and 0 to 60 in about 3 seconds. Yeah. And then what was cool was stopping really fast. And I thought, oh, so you don't need to be a tree hugger or a golfer to want an electric car. And so then I started to study the industry, and Tesla was the clear winner. And at that point, I thought, yeah, industries, they seem permanent. You see an industry, you say, oh, it's got to be that way. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be forever. I am now, I've lived long enough to see all these industries as very fluid. And this is yet another one of those.
Okay, so you picked Tesla, and there were a lot of other options. You picked Bitcoin. There are thousands of other tokens out there. Can you just, in 1, 2, 3 points, tell this crowd how you do your research to winnow down to 1 or 2 choices in the industry?
I listen. I meet a bunch of entrepreneurs. I meet them all the time, and they give me a really good view of what the world's going to look like 5 or 10 years out. They're not too good on what's going on today in this world, but the world 5 to 10 years out, they're really good at projecting. And then even the ones who are competitive with those leaders, they always mention them in their talk when they're speaking to me. So I look for like a pattern. Like I'll hear the word Tesla when I go to, I went to this electric car hobbyist rally, and I kept hearing the word Tesla. I didn't hear a lot of the others, and I thought, that's the one. Mm-hmm. And with Bitcoin, there weren't a lot of options when Bitcoin came out. And so it was just the one. I mean, it was either Bitcoin or all the currencies in the gaming world. That's where I actually thought the digital currency would come from. I thought it was going to just come from gamers who figured out that, you could be in one game and earn diamonds and be in another game and earn, gold, Carbon. And you'd be able to you'd be able to pay 3 golds for 1 diamond. And that's how I thought digital currency would spread. But then when Bitcoin came, all of a sudden it was secure and, transparent and decentralized. And I kind of went, whoa, my God, this just blew everything that I thought was going to happen out of the water.
I'm mindful of everybody's time, and we have other great speakers on. So as we kind of finish up, I wanted to ask you about something that I noticed around January 4th. Mike Novogratz, of course, he's big in Bitcoin, big in all kinds of tokens, posted on Twitter his arm, and he had this huge new tattoo on it, and he said, "I'm now a lunatic." And it was this moon with the wolf, and I don't know, the wolf looked a little sketchy, like the paws looked like sporks or something, I don't know. But he said, "I'm now a lunatic," and he invested in Luna.
So, there are lasers that can take those tattoos off. And I know a guy who can put a new tattoo on there that says Bitcoin, and he can change his ways.
One of the funny things that I saw was I love to look at those things and then look at the comments afterward. And the first comment after he posted that of January 4th of this year was from somebody named @PlateLiquor21. And he wrote, quote,
Was this one of the Twitter people that,
Yes.
that Elon is talking about that might not be real?
A bot? No, this looked like a real guy. He had a little Canadian flag by it. And he wrote, quote, "This will be so embarrassing in like 6 months." He was off by 1 month. Plate liquor. Yeah, but listen, again, I bring it full circle.
Let's follow that guy, Plate Liquor.
@PlateLiquor_21. I mean, you can't make this up, but he basically was saying this will not age well. Listen, we love Novo. He's really a futuristic thinker, but that's kind of where a lot of people are right now, where they maybe believed in some of this mathematical, algorithmic, hoo-ha.
Mathematical, with quotes.
Well, come on, Tim.
That's the way they're teaching math in California now.
Mathematical. I'm a Californian, I must say. I did okay. Horribly on my SATs, though. But in the end, what is the one thing you'll be looking for on the horizon that will get Bitcoin back up to 69,000 or where it was in November? And beyond, because you say 250,000 by the end of this year.
I think all the software programmers are now creating DeFi and smart contracts and all of the fun things on Bitcoin. So think of Bitcoin as Microsoft way back when. Microsoft was they had this organization, they said, "We're just going to be the operating system. You guys go out there and build applications." But then about partway through, they said, this Word application, this WordPerfect application is growing pretty big. So then they created Word. They said this Lotus 1, 2, 3 application is becoming pretty big. So they created Excel. They bought PowerPoint. Suddenly, they had an application layer themselves, and it angered some of those developers. But it grew. That was the platform that won out in the end, in software. I think Bitcoin's the same kind of thing. They watch, they say, "Oh, hey, DeFi, that's pretty cool. Smart contracts, that's pretty cool. There's a new NFT system. Okay, that's pretty cool. Let's grab those." And all that other garbage that people have been doing, they're just going to let Ethereum have that.
And finally, unrelated to crypto, but we gotta ask Tim because he is one of the people floating Elon Musk's bid for Twitter.
That DFJ growth. I can't take credit for that.
You can't take full credit.
But I love these guys, so
right.
Go ahead.
Do you believe he's serious about this? Is this acquisition gonna go through of Twitter?
Oh, I think so. But I think he's going to get a better deal because he found out that, whatever, 2/3 are bots or something. I think so. I think he believes, and weirdly, Jack Dorsey believed in free speech. And he is sort of horrified that Twitter is sort of the arbiters of what people are allowed to say. And I think he just went in there and said, I can buy it. And he just is going to. I think that's basically what happened. There's not a lot of, it's not good, hardware technology or whatever, but his goal is he sees the world and he wanted to save it. He tried to save it with a Tesla. If it doesn't work, he can get us off the planet with SpaceX. And now he's saying, well, people should be able to say whatever they want, and so why not buy Twitter and let them say whatever they want?
Or post their tattoos of Luna and the weird wolf with the strange paws, and plate liquor gets to comment. It's great to have you, Tim.
Absolutely.
You're saying 250,000 by the end of this year, early next year for a single
next
Bitcoin.
year. Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many of you agree? Clap. We shall see.
Ooh, she didn't ask that loud enough. How many of you agree we're going to hit 250,000 by the end of this year or early next year?
Show of hands.
Good. It's like, what, 5 or 10%? That means I'm
9.
right.
Thank you so much. And thanks to
Thank
Tim
you,
Draper.
Liz Claman. She's awesome.
He and I go way back.
You're the best.
Thank you.